welcome to Brian's Man Cave. So I did a video not that long ago about the good and the bad of Castlevania Adventure on the Game Boy. And reading through the comments, there was a comment that popped up. Well, actually a few comments were kind of similar in that the emulation device I was using wasn't the greatest, and I knew that when I was playing it. I knew there would be issues with it. But, you know, one of the comments was based on the idea that the Game Boy, the original Game Boy hardware, was a lot better, and, you know, the game would have played a lot easier. And it got me thinking about the Game Boy. And, well, I'm really talking about the original Game Boy. This guy. This is the first Game Boy that came out. This is the one that I had when I was a kid. And, you know, I thought this was the greatest thing ever. I remember when this thing came out, and some kids were lucky enough to get one right away, and they brought it into school, and they were flashing around their Tetris, and everybody was just like in awe to go and play on this Game Boy, this $100 Game Boy. And you know, it evolved throughout the years, obviously. I mean, we didn't just get stuck with that one. We ended up getting things like this one, like the Game Boy Color, which is like, ooh, color. You know, because obviously the original one was green and green. Green and yellow, green and green, I don't know, it was shades of green. So we got, like, the color came out. There was, you know, iterations in between. Of course, I don't have every single Game Boy ever made. I just have a few here for examples. And then there was, like, the Game Boy Advance, which, you know, they kind of took it from this angle and whoop, down to the landscape angle, which is great. But when you're playing the classic cartridges, you get this, which always kind of disturbed me. I know that the real advanced cartridge that came out were smaller and thinner, and you slid it in there, and it was perfectly, you know, sheer across. But when you wanted to play your older Game Boy titles, you ended up with that. But anyways, you had the little buttons at the top there. You had, you know, it felt a little bit more cozy in your hand. A little bit wider screen, nice color. But all of these had the same problem in the fact that they didn't have any backlighting. And I think that was one of the biggest killers of this thing, was that you tried to play it, even the original one. I remember when I bought it, or well, my father bought it for me, and I was downstairs and I was trying to play Super Mario Land, and I was like this. I was like right up to the lamp beside me. I was trying to see the screen, and my father looked at it and he's like, "That looks like piss," and then he walked away. I was just like, I'm playing Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario Land on a little device. I'm happy. But anyways, yeah, so what I was getting at was, you know, obviously the thing transitioned. And we got things like this now. This is the DS. I'm not sure which one this is. It's not mine, it's my daughter's. But, you know, we've kind of transitioned to something a lot better. And even in today's world, we got new handhelds that come out all the time. I was thinking about this one. This is the Atari Flashback from At Games. You know, I can load all these games on there. You know, I plug it in and it charges. I don't need batteries because, let's be real, these things required lots of batteries. So my main thing right now is to think about, is this thing still playable in today's world, in, well, today's 2022. Feels like it's still 2020. It's 2022, but can you actually, you know, is it still viable to play something like this? You know, I just kind of had it sitting in my man cave over there, just as a decorative piece. I don't even remember last time I ever actually tried to play anything on this. And so that's the question: is this thing still playable? Is there any reason why you would want to play this? So let's take a deeper look. Let's put some batteries into this thing and see what happens. Okay, so I have everything here. So I got my Game Boy ready to go. Here's the just kind of an overview of what we got going on. We got the D-pad. We got the two buttons here. It's really set up like those old Game & Watches. It's probably where, you know, the first D-pad was ever done for the Nintendo stuff. I believe here we have our contrast. This is to make it light or darker. I think this was the power. And then we got our headphones and the volume knob. So let's get to the old back part here where we have the battery compartment. So we got our batteries going on. Let's get these in there. Now, this is also, you know, one of the big problems is batteries. This thing sucks up batteries. Not as bad as some of the other ones I've heard. I've never tried the Sega ones or the Atari Lynx, but I heard that they were also pretty bad on batteries. We'll just slide that in there. And we got some good weight to this thing. I mean, it's nice weight. But I bet you if you drop this thing, it'd probably be like not much left of it. You know, probably break a lot of pieces in there. But anyways, I could be wrong though. I mean, just anybody had one of these and dropped it and it was perfectly fine. Okay, so let's start off with Tetris, because that's the game that everybody wanted. You know, I think people bought this thing just to play Tetris. All right, let's fire it up. There's your on-off switch. Ah, yes, Nintendo. Who could forget that little bling sound? Now you can see it's very hard to see. I mean, I'm holding this up. I don't have a light. Now, I used to have that contraption where you could put it over top. It had a big, heavy thing. I don't know. I seem to have lost all my accessories for this thing. But I remember it clipped over, and it gave it somewhat of a light. Okay, so 1 player, 2 player. This is going to look bad. What did I do here? Nothing like looking at pea soup. There, we got the game going. I mean, it still works. Obviously, I'm not going to play properly. I'm looking at both this and the camera at the same time. But you're getting the gist of it. I mean, the sounds are great. Still had great sounds. You know, for the 8-bit graphics we're going to get out of this. And of course, you know, a lot of the games were kind of versions or variants of classic games. So you had the Castlevania Adventure, and then you had the Super Mario Land. But then later on, we started actually getting the real titles released. You know, the Super Mario Brothers and Castlevania and all that started actually releasing the original titles. That's cool. Let's take that out. Let's see if the Zelda game works. My other thing is, I always love how these look like actual Nintendo cartridges, like miniature Nintendo NES cartridges. I always was fascinated by that. I don't know why. So let's put the Zelda in, see what goes on here. I'm gonna play around with the darkening and the lighting. You can see there's a line here in mine. That's probably due to age. The screen is probably starting to go. So there's probably a whole line of pixels not being shown there. Again, you know, pretty decent sound. I like the sound effects, you know. The pea soup screen is very hard to see, but yeah, it works. Nintendo Game Boy. Well, there you go. I'm surprised this thing works. I was not expecting it to turn on. The thing is, you know, as novel as it is, and as nostalgic as it is, I just don't see myself ever actually wanting to actively play on this thing. You know, maybe it is because we do have like newer stuff that we can play, we can load stuff onto, but overall, I mean, it's just, you know, it's heavy, it's clunky. I used to have this, well, I still have this carrying case, I remember. And you would put the Game Boy in one side, you have the games on the other, and that's what kind of made it portable, because frankly you weren't just going to only play one game. But overall, I mean, it's just a nice nostalgic thing to keep in my collection. I usually keep it over there. I don't even keep the batteries in it anymore. And like I was saying, the screen, you know, the backlit screen. Now, the one thing I didn't mention was we did get this guy at some point. I'm not sure when this came out. It was in the 90s, obviously. This was all like late, very late, like 89, 90s, you know, when the Super Nintendo came out. We got the Super Game Boy, which, you know, it kind of makes you wonder, like, it was one thing that I kind of wanted when I was a kid, was the ability to plug this thing into my TV and be able to play it. But then you kind of think, well, am I defeating the point of it? If I can plug it into my TV, it's no longer a personal, you know, thing you take with you. But at the same time, the games were cool. I liked playing Super Mario Land. I liked playing the Zelda game, the Pokemon card game. There was a lot of different games that I liked playing on here that I thought it would have been great if I could just play it on a big screen. So when the Super Game Boy came out, you know, and they call this a Super Game Boy. It's obviously not a Game Boy itself. I can't play on it. There's no buttons. There's no screen. This gets plugged into your Super Nintendo. You would plug the game in. I have this one. This is Dragon Warrior. So I'd plug that into the Game Boy, Super Game Boy. Plug this into your Super Nintendo, and you're ready to play some Game Boys on your big screen. I love this. I played this a lot. You know, I completed a lot of my Game Boy games using this because, you know, frankly, sitting on this for a long time just kind of hurts your eyes. The you know, no backlit, having no lighting. Even with the big clunky light I had, it still was very hard to see. And of course, if you're sitting anywhere where it's dark, you're done. You're not going to play anything. You know, obviously today you would be on this type of device, which actually has all the lighting and stuff, and can actually, you know, you can see the picture no matter where you are. So I don't know. I don't know if it's still a viable thing that you would actually want to play today. Me personally, no. I don't think I'll ever, but there's probably people out there that will actually want to carry that around and still play on it. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Do you think it's still viable? Do you think playing on something like this is still viable? Because I play on my Atari, I play on my Intellivision still today, so why not this? Anyways, let me know what you think. Throw some comments down below. Do you still play on this? Do you still play on any of the old Game Boys? Do you play on any handheld devices? Other than the Switch, of course. Let me know. Throw some comments down below. Anyways, hope you liked the video. Hope you subscribe. Talk to you later.